Usually when talking about favorite original Game Boy games, Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins isn't far from the top of the list, near your Pokémons and your Link's Awakenings and your Sumo Fighter Tokaido Bashos. I mean, I get it. For the time, it was a huge graphical update from the original Super Mario Land, and combined with the fleshed out map screen, it does feel like a bite-sized, fun Mario adventure, which is probably what most people expected out of it. And it even introduced Wario, one of the best characters in the series. But for me, it feels a bit backwards in trying to be a Mario game. In Super Mario Land, levels could be laid out like simple but functional Mario levels. There was a quaintness to it, where they couldn't do a whole lot mechanically, but still innovated where they could, by making the setting unique, making the OST surprisingly good, and throwing in a few shoot-'em-up levels. Super Mario Land 2 certainly looks more like a Mario game, with a Mario sprite basically being lifted wholesale from Super Mario World, but it doesn't feel like one. Everything takes a hit because of the new emphasis on graphical fidelity, which not only causes everything to lag due to the Game Boy's whimpering processor, but makes the system's tiny resolution incredibly obvious. Mario runs, jumps, and spin jumps really slowly to prevent screen movement from being too jarring. And perhaps worst of all, with everything taking up more on-screen space, less can be on-screen at once. Because of this, most of the game feels almost patronizingly easy, even for a Mario game. More complex enemies like Hammer Brother and Lakitu would be completely impossible on Land 2, so pathetic enemies are sent in to occupy similar amounts of space. I mean, look at this guy. Watch out. I'm gonna get ya. I'm gonna get ya. Yeah, rip. Wario Land was able to circumvent many of these issues by making a slower game built around exploration and puzzle solving, and that's one way to work around the limitations you have. But Super Mario Land 2 does have one level that takes a different tack. In contrast to the entire rest of the game, its last level is difficult. It turns the methodical, obstacle-to-obstacle style weakness of the Game Boy into a strength by forcing the player to use their limited screen space effectively. It's not like this level is a surprise. You can see the mountain it's on at all times on the world map. It's right by the place you spend your coins in, so you're liable to visit its omniscient presence. It reminds you of its existence every time you beat a boss, and it's even alluded to in a way by the game's title. They really wanted this one level to work, so they threw everything they had at it. And I think they succeeded, because it's not only my favorite level in the game, but one of my favorites in the entire Mario series. Press up on this ominous doorway and enter Wario's Castle. Wario's Castle is a gauntlet of sorts, with each room introducing new elements not seen anywhere else in the game. Not only that, but it's an astounding 15 rooms long, making it far and away the longest in the game too. It's even long by console Mario standards. It starts in complete safety, letting you advance when you're ready. The first thing you encounter is a power-up, which serves two purposes. One, to bolster your confidence for the hard level ahead after each of your many deaths, and two, to distract you long enough to show off the arc that your first obstacle, these big spiky balls, move in. Even though the Game Boy can only handle a limited amount of sprites, the size of these makes them a considerable threat anyway, especially when combined with dangerous jumps over lava. What's even worse though is the Piranha Plant statues. They're positioned in such a way that each is liable to catch you off guard the first time you see them, even if you have plenty of time to react. The massive one is right in the way of Mario's jump, and immediately after, you need to know how to duck, which is oddly rarely seen in Mario's level design. Right at the beginning, they're testing you on all the game's systems, not just the select few you could abuse to get here. Enter the pipe, and you get something of a break room, which helps maintain forward momentum. You get a power-up here, which will give you some breathing room if you got hit earlier, or if you didn't, it gives you a third hit. Notably, they give you a fire flower here, and not the super carrot. The carrot would neutralize most of the platforming challenges beyond this point, while most obstacles are immune to Mario's fire. There's no way to cheat the level, you gotta beat it. Also in this room is one more Piranha Plant statue, ensuring the player understands the importance of ducking if they damage boosted through the first lesson. Now this is important because the propeller things in the next room make it the most nerve-wracking in the whole castle. The first duck is free, with the second only slightly dangerous as you have to make the jump quickly. The third one, though, combines the two, forcing not only a quick duck, but a quick jump afterward. But the last one? Maybe it's the fear of losing progress up to that point? Maybe it's the heart-pumping music? But I can't tell you how many times I've choked right there. Not only do you have to duck and jump quickly like the last one, but they narrowed your opportunity to jump. And worse still, you have to drop onto the platform while it's moving. It may not look like much to those of you who don't play many platformers, but the timing is just so strange and oddly restrictive, but in a way that feels like such a relief to overcome every single time. But of course, it's not over yet. The last obstacle required that you gotta go fast, so this one requires a slower touch. Accidentally step on a trap tile, and Wario will come pounding down at you with massive fists. You'll likely lose a power-up here if you trigger him, but if you're careful, you can still pass by safely. These skulls require some speed to get through and some precision to land on them, but are still something of a catharsis after the restrictive patterns of the previous obstacles. Afterward, you get another break room and another power-up, which is really more of a psychological thing. It's not terribly useful in the upcoming section. It's important to remember that through all of this, though, you haven't been given a single checkpoint, and you won't for the entirety of the level. The tension at this point is incredibly high, and even though in a technical sense this room is easier than the spike ball room or the propeller room, it's incredibly easy to do something stupid here. Subconsciously, you'll want to jump from platform to platform since that's what you've been doing all game. But doing so will impale you on the spikes above, because these platforms don't fall when they're stepped on, they rise up. It's generally safer to just walk off, but it's completely contrary to your instincts. So you don't remember and you pay the price. Back to the beginning with you. But if you do get past it, you don't know how much more of this you can take. The spiky pillars in the next room can't even hurt you if you keep moving, but they give the impression that you're narrowly dodging everything in your way. And then finally, after all that effort, you're face to face with Wario. The face, because you're still not done yet. 3 final rooms stand in your way, each with the floating face mini-boss. First 1, then 2, then 2 more in a slightly more difficult pattern. In an isolated environment, none would be that difficult. But after what you've been through, knowing that getting cornered by one of these guys or just barely nicking one of their hitboxes will send you all the way back is enough to put you on edge. Stay calm, don't get too opportunistic, and jump at just the right moment. Take a power-up, and get ready for a fight. Wario is 3 times bigger than you, faster than you might expect, and without any real pattern, instead choosing to jump whenever he feels like it. When he does, the screen will shake under his immense girth, and a chandelier will drop from the ceiling, an obstacle every bit as dangerous as he is. To be suddenly greeted with chaos after how careful you had to be to get here is a real eye-opener. Wario is cocky, and if you let him take control of the fight, it'll be over in seconds. But you can attack him just as easily, and from the throne he can only attack you with the chandelier. Bop him 3 times, and get ready for Phase 2. Thankfully, this one's a bit easier. Wario's pattern is a lot more distinguishable here, and you're given a super carrot that not only gives you extra hits, but makes landing on his head and avoiding the screen shaking easier as well. That being said, getting hit here is still likely just because of Wario's massive girth and the deadly chandelier still being in full force. After a bunny-on-bunny showdown, the natural finale would be Fireflower vs. Fireflower, right? Well, maybe, but Wario doesn't play by the rules. You only get a Super Mushroom instead, giving him an automatic advantage. Not only that, but if you're stupid and touch it while you still have the bunny power-up, you're downgraded to boring old Super Mario. And I can't think of anything more Wario than taunting you with something you cherish in any other context. Wario's gonna win, and you're gonna deal with it. Wario's final phase is all about entrapment within limited space. His giant size naturally commands enough space already, but his fast-moving giant fireballs command even more. The sides of the arena have low ceilings, preventing escape if you wait too long. He'll sometimes jump to throw you off, and if you land on a bad spot of Wario's skull, he can actually shoot you while you're dealing damage. There's no tricks here, just nerves. Maintain your composure, and don't let him run away with the fight. 3 more times, and he's reduced to a sniveling wreck. You've done it. You've beat the game. Of course, he throws a shoe at you and then took over the series afterwards, but hey, Wario always gets the last laugh.
Have a rotten day!
A while back, we did an episode on Braid's final level, and how it felt like it stood at odds with the rest of the game it was in, being so clearly the point of the game that the rest was window dressing. Wario's castle feels like the opposite of that idea, because the entire rest of the game benefits from its inclusion. Since you know you're promised something difficult at the end, the rest of the game could feel like a fun little warm-up to get used to how it controls. Since you could beat the levels in any order, it makes the game more replayable, since you can save especially boring worlds like Mario Zone, yeah, I said it, for when they would seem the least unappealing. You could argue that an entire world at the end of the game would feel more complete, but it wouldn't be such a memorable challenge if it all weren't right here. To some of you, the lack of checkpoints, the strict precision, the humongous difficulty spike, all of that might feel cheap. But let me tell you that little else feels as good as taking down this behemoth of a level after you've come this far. The requirement to take it all down in one shot, to learn from everything and successfully finish the final exam of Mario Land 2, that's a feeling that's hard to replicate. Most levels lose their oomph after you beat them once or twice, but Wario's castle was hard when I was growing up, and it's still hard now. It's the perfect capstone to the game. It's how you design for highlight.